One comment, concern, question I see repeatedly, be it on a forum or a Facebook group of this church production world we're a part of, is, hey, it's too loud. I need help. My drums are too loud. I'm getting complaints on Sundays over and over and over again. Well, I'm here to help. Welcome to Cavaline Productions Plus. I'm Matthew. So when we're talking about volume complaints and noise complaints in a worship setting, in a church setting, the main culprit, the one people love to point their fingers to, is that evil drum set. Yes, that's right, the drum set. So to help deal with volume, we need to tame the drums. But before we tame the drums, we need to know what we're taming with them. So listen to this. When it comes to volume, I don't really believe volume or something being loud is the issue. Now, let me say this. Every space, every church, every worship center is going to be different. And if you're one of those very small churches, okay, maybe you have 100 people can fit into your space on a Sunday, maybe 200. You might need to skip all of this stuff and go right to that drum enclosure. You know, that thing that looks like a fishbowl. It surrounds the drums on the top, on the bottom, all the way around. Okay, that's going to help you control those decibels. But I don't want to go right to the fishbowl yet. I want to get there if we need to. Because for me, I hate drum enclosures. They can take a beautiful looking church and just destroy it aesthetically. They can make the best Christmas stage look like the Grinch showed up. Okay? You know what I'm talking about. We have lots of color, we have beautiful lights, and the haze is going, and then we have this big glass plastic thing in the center of our stage. Or worse, we want to try and hide it to the far stage left or far stage right just to keep it out of view. Well, that's defeating the purpose. Plus, you're making your drummer, the person he or she is serving on your worship team, less a part of the band. Like, they're in their own little world. You know, they should feel together with the bass player and the guitarist and the piano. So let's talk about drum enclosures very last. In fact, that's all I'm going to talk about drum enclosures right now. So the next step back from that is these drum screens. You know, the plastic things, they're rectangles. Sometimes now you see these new circular guys. I personally do not believe they do anything. I think the reason they were invented was to keep the drums in the drum mics and to keep outside noises in those drum mics. That is it. I don't think they work. And hey, you know, if you think they work, go ahead, make a comment down below. Tell me how you've been using them. I'd love to start that dialogue because I know there's other churches in your area or in this community that are looking for ways to tame these drums. So let's get back to the beginning of this. I don't think it's volume. I think it's frequency. Let's put this into perspective. Let's say worship is a painting, okay? And we have our bright colors, our highs, and we have our darker colors, our lows. So let's deal with our colors, our bright colors. We have female vocals, we have piano, we have lead electric guitar, we have acoustic guitar. We might, if we're doing multi-tracks, we're going to have synth leads and shakers, and maybe there's violin or viola. Lots of bright colors there, okay? Let's go to our darker colors. Bass guitar, our toms on our drums, and maybe the low end of the piano, the low end of the synth, maybe we have a bass synth, and male vocals. There's a lot of things in this high and these bright colors that are outshowing our low end. Okay? When it comes to things that annoy us about sound, it's typically not volume that makes us upset. It's the frequencies within the music. Okay? If you think about nails on a chalkboard, if you think about maybe a whistle at a football game, yes, those things are loud, but it's the frequency that makes us go, I don't like that. So, if we as engineers, music directors, etc., learn to control our highs and change our lows, I feel we would be getting less complaints about volume. And I'll give you an example why. So one of our senior pastors in our church, this person has, I would say, considered very sensitive hearing. And not only that, her daughter, well, I guess it's a girl now, her daughter also has sensitive hearing. So when I got complaints from her, as she's my boss, because she's one of senior leadership in the church, it typically happened during certain keys of songs. I started to notice because, well, I'll get to this in a little bit. Certain keys of songs, if there was an electric guitar solo and that person's just riffing away, I'd be getting complaints as well. And I started to wonder, like, man, what is the deal with this? And I started doing some more research because, no joke, I average between 83 and 86 decibels on a Sunday morning. And yes, that is stupid low. And my space is very large. We have about a 2,700 seat sanctuary. Obviously, because like us and most churches, our numbers are dropping considerably, so we might have 400, 500 people on a Sunday. So there's a lot of room for sound and frequencies to bounce around. Our stage is big as well, but the entire back wall is all marble. Yeah, drums love that. That's great. So I started to think, like, what is going on here? I shouldn't be getting sound complaints. I should not be getting volume complaints. I can literally talk to my producer without a headset on perfectly fine. So I started looking at this whole idea of frequencies. And I kept my highs exactly where they were. Okay? And I started to add more low end, more bass guitar. I started feeding a lot of my toms more into the subs, bass guitar into the subs, the low end of a piano into the subs. Anytime I had synth or low synth, bass synth in my multi-tracks, that got fed into the subs. And at first, yes, I got complaints. It's too loud because now they're feeling this low-end energy in the room. It's starting to feel in their feet. They feel in their butt in the seats a little bit. But after a few weeks of getting those complaints out of the way, because we don't like change, remember in church, we like to sit in our exact same seat every Sunday, I stopped getting complaints altogether. The senior leader who has an issue with hearing hasn't brought up volume to me in years. Years. So something is right. So now I'm on this idea of what can I do? Now I do get complaints every now and then about volume, but they're usually the same person and it is what it is, and I just try to smile and say, hey, I'm not mixing for myself. This is, you're a client, you know? You, the church parishioner, are a client. I'm mixing for you. If I was mixing for Tom Petty, and he says, hey, it's too loud, I'm going to turn it down. He's my client. That's how it works. So I'm respectful in that aspect. So how else? How can we help this idea of low frequency? And we know the main culprit with these complaints is drums. So it's going to start with the drummer. And if you've watched a previous video about a source, I talk about do this with source first. Yeah, I could put a link like right here, or maybe here. I think it's here. I'll put a link right here. I talk about getting to know your source. And if it's a drummer, the drummer and his drums and her cymbals are a source. Okay? They might be using your set, but it's them. So you need to build a relationship with that drummer. You need to say, hey, I need you on my team with this. This is what I'm doing. I'm trying to put more low end into the house. I need your help. I need you to be not play softer. Don't make it sound like they're screwing up. They're too loud. This is all your fault. I need you to play, like Janet Jackson said, with control. Now that song's in your head, enjoy. So I need you to control your drumming a little more. You don't want Dave Grohl just beating the snot out of the drums. Okay? Some of the best drummers don't need to do that. They're playing with their wrists, with their forearms, especially worship music. All right? This is church. So let's control them by having a good relationship with the drummer. You can try to switch out their sticks. Obviously, a smaller, thinner stick, if they're still Dave Grohling it up, is going to hit the drums softer than a tree trunk. Drummers tend to be particular about their sticks, so you might have a hard time switching those out. Okay? So if we can't control the sticks, but we can have a conversation with the drummer, what else can we control? Okay? Well, we can control the amount of toms or the type of toms on our church's kit. We have a tom-tom, and then we go floor. It's a pocket kit. Well, I got a 14-inch floor and a 16-inch floor. They're low end. I'm adding more low end into the frequency range of that picture, okay? I'm going to maybe have less cymbals. It might be crash, crash, ride, and that's it. I'm going to be choosing cymbals that have a very fast decay, and if you are a church pastor or someone who doesn't understand what that means, it is, think of the sizzle of a cymbal, the tss, all that high-end sizzle, how long it lasts. If we have one that is going to be a fast decay, tss, and then is a darker cymbal, so instead of tss, high-end, crash, 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 it's going to be that low-end, dark, fast decay. Those frequencies aren't penetrating someone's ears, and they're not enjoying it. So fast and dry, we're choosing how many cymbals there are. I also, though I love overhead mics, when it comes to church, and if you can do it, mic each cymbal individually. You have control now of that volume of that cymbal. Trust me, if they add another cymbal or if they're using a shaker, get them near that microphone, it's still going to be heard. You don't have to worry about that if you don't have overheads. But it just allows a little more control, and you can EQ that cymbal a certain way, your hi-hat a certain way, etc. The brand of cymbals I use is called Dream, and the line is called Bliss. I believe I purchased them because I saw a video years ago with Andrew Stone from Church on the Move, and he talked about this brand of cymbal. I'm almost positive. And man, they're affordable. They sound good. I've had them for 6 years, 7 years. Not one is... I'm going to jinx myself. Oh, man. Not one is cracked. Just wait. Next week. I promise I'll do a video if it cracks. I have had no issues with these cymbals. They are great. So let's get to where we're at right now. So we have built a relationship with our drummer. We've talked about using maybe thinner sticks. We've talked about things we can control, like the amount of toms we have, and using lower, deeper toms to keep that low frequency in our painting. We have talked about cymbals, the amount of cymbals. We want to use dark and fast attack of cymbals, but we haven't talked about snare. So, one thing about snare and drummers is they have a strong relationship with their snare. They want it tuned a certain way. They want it a certain depth. It's their thing. So when they crack that snare with their sticks, it sounds and reacts the way they want it to. So what happens when we're dealing with a drummer who likes that fast, cracky snare? That man could, you might just hate it. It's so high pitched. It's just like a needle in your ear. Okay, it might sound great, and it probably does, but to the churchgoer, it sounds awful, and they're going to despise it. This is what I do. I let them manipulate their snare any way they want. With that being said, I tune my drums a certain way. I'm not a drummer. I'm using the TuneBot, link to that in the description, to help me tune, and then I let my drummers kind of tweak it out a little bit. But I like a low frequency, low snare, toms, etc. But if I get a drummer who comes in, he or she is gonna tune it up. I use a plugin. I use Waves plugin with my Yamaha CL5. Waves plugins working with a lot of different boards, and it's called Torque. And I use it on my snare drum, and I actually torque or tune my snare much, much lower. In their ears and in their playability, it is just like the snare that's in front of them. In my house, it's coming out much, much lower in frequency. These are some awesome tools that I use, and hopefully it's going to help you tame your drums. But what happens when you've tried all of these techniques and you still hear your drums? Well, stay tuned to my next video. I'm going to be showing you a little secret, something I just purchased that I'm excited to share with you. It's actually right here. Nah, I'll save it for next time. So, please, if you liked what you've seen today, like and subscribe. Please follow. I really appreciate it. Until next time, we're going to continue this conversation on how to tame your drums. Keep rocking.